Okay, hi guys, Shelby over here. Okay, thank you for joining us in today our event when we talk about productivity. And actually, we have two speakers over here. We have Miss Justine Bay as well as Mr. Koo over here. So maybe what we can kickstart, right? I think productivity is a very common terms, or there is a lot of guidebook to talk about how can we actually enhance the effectiveness or efficiency of things. Okay, so maybe let me before we kickstart on today's topic, right? Let's to have Jaslyn and Koo to actually introduce themselves and what they do. Okay, maybe can we have Jaslyn first?
Okay, so hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Jaslyn, the managing partner of Blackstone Consulting, which is also a business consultancy firm that help to scale businesses in Southeast Asia. Okay, so other than that, I'm actually a director of an IT talent outsourcing firm called Global Strategic Partners, whereby we do a lot of outsourcing, tech talent developers, stuff like that. So actually myself, when I was in school, I actually studied human resource management. Okay, so that's where we actually touched a little bit about, how to make sure that employees are productive, like how to make sure that yourself are, productive. So, which is why today I hope that I will be able to actually bring in some insights regarding this. And, other side business of myself will be I'm actually a co-founder of a fashion e-commerce store called Shine Apart. So basically for this is more towards like, I always believe in like dressing differently, dressing in like bright color. So we sell actually bright, bright color blazer. So to actually make yourself shine apart in the crowd. Okay. So lastly, I'm also a mom of like a three years old kid. Okay, so I hope I'm able to share some, and if you are a parent yourself and would like to find out more about, keeping yourself productive, stuff like that, I will be able to, share my thoughts. Yeah.
I think definitely because you are running three businesses, okay, as your introduction, as well as you are also a mommy that for a boy of three. So I think time is very important for you. Everybody have 24 hours. Okay, next up, let's have Koo to share a little bit about himself and what his experience.
Sure, thank you, Shelby. So maybe a little bit of myself in Zoho Corp. So I'm the regional marketing manager in Zoho Corp. And Zoho has, we are not just a one product company. So we are a software company with more than 50 different applications in every nearly in any business category, including sales, marketing, customer support, accounting, and back office operations. So before joining Zoho, I was in the military and also I've taken some interest in this tech. And from an engineering career, I transit towards psychology and management. So that is that me today. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for when we talk about productivity, right? I think two keywords actually pop into the mind. I think the first one will be about, soft skill set, time management, that kind of thing, how to actually solve problem, how to make certain decisions fast and efficient. But at the same time, tool is very important. Okay, knowing the tool, but not knowing how to actually utilize it is also something that I think is a big issue right now. Okay, so before we talk about all these things, right, can I ask the two speaker over here, right, what is your definition of productivity? What does this term means to you? Okay, it can be in terms of, Justin as an entrepreneur, or it can be in terms of Justin managing employees, or even on the private kind of setting. How do you actually manage your time?
Yeah, maybe I start first. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I feel that productivity, one thing for sure is like not working longer. A lot of people feel that they work longer, work harder. It's actually turned out into productivity. I'm very productive because I can chunk out a lot, but because I spend more time on it, and that actually makes me feel productive. Okay, so one thing that I would like to address is right. Definitely productivity is not working longer, but it's more about working efficiently. That's one, and also effectively. Okay, but within a limited time. Okay, so if I'm able to actually churn out certain stuff within a shorter time, and over the time I actually do more and more, I'm able to do it at a even shorter and also more accurate, higher accuracy, right? I would say that that is productivity. That's one definition I would see that. Yeah. So another way that I would say is like achieving the objective. If I put on the head of an entrepreneur, right? and some like employer, I will feel that it's actually achieving like objective with lower cost. Okay, so yeah, if I am given a limited resources, how can I actually achieve the objective with that? And that actually, for me as a business, that is productivity. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure, if you are not entrepreneur, if you are in the middle, like as a manager managing like a huge team of people, right? How would you see it as, productive?
So if I'm going to ask, if
Yeah.
you're going to answer this type of question, I'll
Ah.
find that as a manager, you need to ensure that you're able to scale properly.
Yeah.
Maybe having document control, knowledge management, so that you can deploy agile concepts effectively. Because nowadays, when we are working in a hybrid environment, if you do not have a good you cannot have a proper knowledge management, you don't have enough collaboration tools, you will not be able to deploy agile concepts. And then what happens if all of us our tasks are like assembled in a way like a waterfall method? You'll find that, oh great, I may have 20 employees, but then I may need to wait 20 months before I deliver one project.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for today workforce, right, it is a little bit difficult to actually define what is productivity, to be very honest. I mean, in the past, in the 1980s, right, when you are in the manufacturing, it's very straightforward. Okay. I mean, it's an amount of unit or output that we talk about, So but output in terms, right? I mean, there is a new definition that I actually came across that what Justine highlighted, that if you are able to hit the objective at a lower cost. Okay, the lower cost can be in terms of you can get someone that is a junior for you to actually achieve that objective, or it can be yourself. Okay, but you are spending lesser time on that. But I think Ku also highlighted a very important point in terms of asset management, knowledge management. Okay, because every day there's so many information is floating around. Do we have someone to actually look at all this information and collate it, and is this being shared with other people? Okay, so that lead me to the next question, right? Okay, when we talk about skill set, right? Okay, Jaslyn, what do you think, right, is the most important skill set you believe that an entrepreneur should have to maximize their productivity?
Yeah. So I think just now you sort of like bring up a very important thing is, able to actually delegate to your team and able to work in the team, right, to get things done. I think one thing very important would be, whether you are running your own business or whether you are working in the big corp, you have subordinate, or whether you do not have any subordinate, you just work with among your team members, right? I feel that you should be able to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, it's very important to identify each body strength and weaknesses, like even for yourself. Okay, so as long as you are able to use your spend more time on your strength in the work, most of the time that will actually churn out things faster. Okay, and also it will become easier for you because you are expert in that. Okay, I mean, you can actually work on your weaknesses. Some people actually believe in I need to be I need to be a jack of all trades. So I want to be very good at everything. So in a way that, right, most of the time these people, right, will end up doing everything and not getting any help, yeah, then ended up you realize that, okay, so by the time when you need to submit, there's a deadline, you need to submit that, right? Yeah, everybody need to rush with you to actually finish up because you realize at the very end, last hour, you couldn't finish it. Yeah, so I think this is very important. You need to learn how to delegate, okay, or even ask for help, okay. So another thing is also not about just delegating, giving other people tasks, okay, allocating that and then get them to do that. As an owner of a company or as a boss yourself, have to be very good at motivating as well as developing your staff, okay, in a way that giving them opportunity, okay, trusting them, that I know that maybe you are not an expert in this, okay, but if I have slightly more time, I'm willing to actually let you try, but give you some guidance along the way. But at the same time, maybe at this kind of situation, most of the time you should know the answer yourself. Okay, so a lot of times, it's not about doing things yourself, making sure that everything works, all the output is coming from you. So it's also very important to give like team members or subordinate, to give them some time to actually test it out, okay, test the concept, try it out, trust them with autonomy, but very importantly, also check it and make sure everything goes well and able to hand things on time. So that is actually one of the skill set I find it will be
Right.
important.
Okay. Let me just summarize what Jessie actually just mentioned. There's a few keywords I would say. Dedication, okay, know how to motivate and develop or nurture your talent so that you can actually pass certain workload to them and empower them with the actually authority to make certain decisions, but at the same time, okay, ensure that you're on track, okay, ensure that if they make any mistake, you are able to actually support them or even to correct their mistake, right, Jaslyn? Well,
Yeah.
that is a lot for an entrepreneur. It's quite tough, right, to be an entrepreneur. Okay, let's go. Cool. I have a question for you, right? Okay. I think when we talk about skill set, the next is right. There is a lot of business too that actually help. It can be individual or it can be a company on the point of view, right, as a whole, right, to increase the productivity. Okay. But what are some of the very common business tool that you actually see your client are doing, using, or as a whole? What are the to increase the productivity itself?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Shelby. So because I come from Zoho, most of our customers will be using like a Zoho productivity tool. So I think for the generic public, so maybe I'd like to categorize these tools under a few categories. So perhaps I would like to start with, they are the creation tools. So the creation tools are like, Canva, AutoCAD and Photoshop. So those are the tools that allow you to create stuff. And then next, we also have some tools like the collaboration tools, because there's no point if you can create things and you need to pass over to the next person to create the next value. So there must be some collaboration tools, like for example, cloud storage and maybe scheduling tools and project management tools. Because those skilled project managers will know that if you start a project with start and end dates, you start to track resource, you start to track man hours. But if you don't have a proper phase gate and you don't have a proper expert judgment in the interim phase gate, you'll be passing a nonsense to between teams. So the communications skills also need to be um, you need to amplify it throughout your organization. And next, would be the communication tools that we all know, like email, chat, meeting tool, and all of this actually facilitate and this hybrid environment that we have, because all of us are working with different schedules, hybrid modes. Sometimes you one company may work on 135, and just sway the other company, that the customer you want to find, that person you need to liaise with works on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And maybe on Thursdays you need to pick up their kid, or send their elderly to for GP to check up. So previously, when you communicate using email, right now you need to change a lot of things. You may need to use a business chat. You may need to use a very kind of communication tools to ensure that the time between each communication is minimized. And then when you minimize time, productivity increases, because it's output divided by time. So the less time you spend to wait for a response or wait for an answer, you're actually saving a lot of money for the organization. Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Shelby. Yeah.
I think that is very right. I think a lot of times, right, even with tools, right, it's actually caused by human error. Human error will still happen, like even during, we have like multiple tools. Then, okay, Shelby, maybe can I ask one question,
Sure.
to that particular question? Okay, so a lot of times what we feel that a lot of employees, they do not willing to change. Okay, they feel that having new tools is actually very tedious. I need to relearn everything. I already have a lot of things in that database, and now because of the new tools, I need to change it to this, and I need to learn this. I'm spending more time when I already have a lot of work on hand. So I'm not sure whether Chia, when you are dealing with like clients, right? What are the kind of feedback that you actually have from your clients, and how do they actually solve this kind of like human issue?
Sure. Thank you, Jaslyn. So maybe I'd like to share one perspective. For the smart employees in this new age, digital age, you need to consider on the perspective of what happens if you are the boss. The boss may be paying for a very expensive ERP, previously commissioned in the year 2000, very outdated and very expensive. and he's paying a renewal fees, and when all their competitors are using, a cloud-based suite, very flexible, very mobile friendly, and you cannot be in that old fixated mindset and stick to something which is old. You need to go with something that your competitors are using. The leading players are using such tools, and also you must go very close to your clients, because the clients will force you to to transform and to adapt to them. It's like if they have e-invoicing and then you tell them, hey, sorry, my company don't have e-invoicing, and it's not the way to go. So learning something new and putting yourself at the forefront of every transformation is actually trying to safeguard safeguard the business interest of your organization. So as we grow in age, we also upgrade our software. So it's indirectly we are showing our boss that the hardware may be old, but the software is constantly updated. Yeah. So as an employee, we also try to do our best to ensure our organization gets equipped effectively.
Yeah, I think this about lifelong learning, right? It doesn't stop with your experts. Like you are from marketing, it does not need you to keep on. I mean, you have to keep on enhancing. I think for the tools point of view, right? I mean, Facebook have been updated. We also get ourselves adapted. Okay, for the tools, I think for the business tool, right? I think the 3C that Ku actually highlighted: creation, collaboration, and communication is very important. Okay, so can I check with you, right? Especially Justin, before COVID and right now COVID. I mean, it's still pandemic lah, basically. And then a certain area, right, certain country is still working from home by default. Okay, but I mean, tools come in very, very important during this transition. Okay, but do you face any problem, Justin, or maybe your client, face any common issue that encounter, right, when managing employees and operation during this pandemic? And do you think is it a skill set issue, or do you think it's a tool issue? Or do you think like maybe what you actually highlighted, they are unwilling to learn the tool?
Yeah, I think most of the time it's people issue. That will actually take over most of the situation. Miscommunication, yes, I think it happened. But actually within these 2 years, right, at the very beginning, maybe you feel that there are actually a lot of miscommunication. You're not very used to how you work. But I think after 2 years, right, people actually got used to it. Okay, at least our tools are more whatever external tools, right, that we are actually more sort of like sort of stabilize the changes here and there. So in terms of procedure, it will be pretty similar. But one thing for sure is habit is actually something that is very hard to change. Right? I would say most people will still have bad habit. Even for myself, I also have bad habit. The way that I actually work, I know, because sometimes on the road, you just text in whichever channel, then you realize that actually, because you're actually working with like people from different country, you do have multiple channels. At least, MS Team, that's one. You have Telegram, you have WhatsApp, you have, Line, whichever. And sometimes talking to the same person, you may even text them in 2 different channels because you just forgot which one you have been talking with them. Yeah. Yep. Then you ended up you actually need to search. Yeah, then you needed to like search for a particular thing in multiple different channels. Yeah. Sometimes I hope you have a sort of like a search engine within a phone, right, that able to go across the whole app.
Yeah. Cool. You can take note of that. That would be very helpful. Justin will be your first customer.
Can Zoho create something like this? Yeah. So I think habit is something that is very hard to change. Most of the issue when work from home is miscommunication. Even between ourselves with client, there will be miscommunication. But at least during this pandemic, people are more acceptable. They are more forgiving. If you have this kind of issue, usually just try to make it better. That should be fine. But one thing for this, how over the time I realized, right, working with people on remote, it actually can work, I feel. What I like to do is also advice would be, right, let's say if you're working with someone and you actually needed something urgent, put a shorter deadline. Okay, so because usually if you put a hard deadline to what you're actually supposed to pass to someone else, right, it may create a chain effect. It's easier if you put a shorter deadline, but that actually most people, like even if I work with my team, most people I know that they can't achieve it. Yeah. So
right.
Yeah, so of course we won't be humping on it like why you didn't achieve this, why you didn't submit by of deadline. Because at the very beginning we know that this is an unachievable deadline. Okay, so that would be the kind of advice that I'll give if you are working in a team and working remotely.
Yeah. So cool. I have a I'm very curious, right? Because you actually highlighted the 3C, that how you actually categorize the creation, collaboration, and communication, right? So can I check with you, right? I mean, before and after, I mean, not really before and after, before pandemic as currently pandemic, right? Do you see any increase of demand for this 3C, and which two actually have the most demand? So this is my first question. And the second question is, right, because we talk about, you have the tool, but whether the entrepreneur or even the employee, do they use it, right? Okay, which tool, right, actually has the most failure rate of using it correctly? And what is the reason that they are not using it correctly?
Okay, maybe I start to answer your first question first. Like, which tool is
Correct.
most popular during this
Mm,
season, right? So actually, the popular tool at first it was the communication tool, because
yeah.
in some countries, you have a total lockdown. In the early days, when you're total lockdown, and if you're not an essential service, you may not know whether you're essential service, and the application process is probably take 3 to 5 working days, and everybody is staying at home. So I think people in
Mm,
Singapore have experienced that, and that is the time that you can really test your router whether is it really good or not good, because everybody in the house will be trying to call and make some video calls and WhatsApp calls and what so that is the time that we all know this popular online meeting software we're using now, Zoom. So it came
mm,
to be very popular at that point of time. So communication is like the first thing people go to. Okay, I want to connect with people. I want to see a face to the person I'm speaking to. But then what's next? Because I can
mm,
see, let's say, Shelby on the screen. But am I going to send a important document to Shelby at abcmail.com? No, because if it's going to be an important document, it got to go to a proper domain. So that's when email is important. And then when you have large organization, or let's say a 20 to 30 kind of size company, how are you going to get your announcements across? Like
mm,
when to go to the office, like when you want to, who should visit the office first. And if you're having the lockdown for such a long time, if there's any fire, if there's any safety related issues in the office, the fire warden need to take care. We have other problems to worry about, and we need to have internal communications, because
mm.
somebody must visit the letterbox and take endorse documents and stuff like that. Even for bigger companies like Zoho, during the dark days of lockdown, I still remember that our office manager need to go to the letterbox and take out some letters and get them endorsed, and that is like the communication tools first. But then collaboration tools are like the main body, the anchor of every operations.
Right, right, right. I think it's very well. I mean, is communication is one of the very important one that everybody need to get it ready. Okay, collaboration, I think, is also something that I think the failure point is quite high because
Correct.
that allow actually a lot of users to actually learn on how to actually do it. I mean, internally, if I want to use certain collaboration tool, there is certain, like, I would say, good practices that need to be informed to the people to make sure that you are using the tool correct, being considerate, getting the file in check and all these things, right? So
Right.
can I ask Justin, right, in your work of consultancy, right, what are some common tech productivity tools? Okay. Uh, don't need to use the 3C. Okay, what are some of the tech productivity that your client use, right? And from your point of view, because when you go to meet up with them or you actually do certain project with them, right? Do you think that they have maximized the potential of the tool? And what are the steps, right, that entrepreneur, right, can take to ensure that the tools are actually used properly?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I mean, the common one, I wouldn't say like MS Team or Zoho, which are commonly used like during this period. Definitely you need to have a communication tool and collaboration tool. Yeah, so that pretty much sit on it. There are some very interesting tools, right? They are not very popular in this region, I feel. Like, for example, we have like, loom.com. So Zoom is something that whereby you can actually, if you only need like 5 minutes of recording, a very short clips, right? Just to show your colleague or your team or even your client, right? A share screen item, show what is it about, where you actually record and then talk about it, right? That is actually very easy to use. Okay, it's actually a Google Chrome plugin. Yeah, you can always click it and then just record it. So this is a very good tool. Another tool that we actually use very often will be WeTransfer.com. Yeah, you can actually, I actually shared in the chat box, where if you only want to transfer like 2 MB of item, you can always use this kind of tool. I believe it's pretty secure, upload, share the links. You can always, the person have to download within 7 days. So that is a good thing, and sometimes it can be a bad thing. So yeah, so that is actually quite a common tool that I actually use. Okay, so another interesting one, I wouldn't say Canva. Canva is something that is very good if you are doing marketing. Yeah, so recently we also found out this tool that is quite interesting. Okay, so say now, because during pandemic, a lot of times you have many meetings. If you look at your calendar, most of the time there will be a lot of like, so overlapping ones. Yeah, so if you can't join any meetings, or if you actually foresee yourself, you can't join most of the meetings and you needed some summary, okay, so this is actually quite a good tool. So basically it's a bot, where you tie to your email address. When people invite you, you can have a setting whereby they will always join the meeting. Okay, so at the very end of the day, you can actually go to your database, take a look at the transcript. Yeah.
Right. So it's like
That's
a
very
meeting
good.
assistant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Right.
so that is actually quite interesting. Yeah. Other than that, I think the rest are very common, but few ways that I like to use is, if I want to save those kind of text, simple text, right? Very last minute, I will just save it at my saved message in Telegram, something like this.
Right. Right. Okay. So what are some of the various, right, hacks or secrets, right, that you can share with the audience over here for both managing the operation, okay, business operation, as well as maybe the teammates or even employee themselves? Maybe we can have Koo to start first for this.
Sure. I think the key thing in any kind of communication within your team would be trust. Because when you don't have trust, while you're focusing on something, and then you're thinking, hey, what are my teammates doing? Are they like slacking off? Or then what? So when you need to, how can you get this trust across? So of course, some kind of analytics would help. So simple things like basic check-in and all this kind of maybe I come from a different kind of era. I would expect even my remote staff to clock in the hours and have some simple reporting, so that I know that okay, they are going on with their work. Because it's actually quite challenging to work in Zoho, because we don't give you simple work. So imagine if I give you challenging work, and then you're still not reporting back to me after time to time, and on some stuff, I'll find that something is wrong with this person. Probably maybe I should check in with him instead of this guy checking in with me. So for me, it's always the soft skill before the tools, but it is the soft skill behind how you use the tools.
Right. Justine, what about you?
I think I definitely agree, like trust is important, but also with some measure to make sure that nobody is taking advantage of this flexibility. Okay, because sometimes it may be quite hard, especially when you're working from home, right? There are some distractions here and there, which is very common. Okay, but I think have to be fair, like if you are working for having a full-time job, and there's actually no difference to your pay, things like that, right? You should actually give more than what you actually are being paid off. So this is very important. One thing that I would say is, like, can emphasize more during this period where when we are working from home, right, to have some sort of like a different performance management procedure or framework. Okay, so last time in the past is easy, because when you go to office, you sort of know that who is working hard, stuff like that, able to produce result, things like that, right? You are able to see, you have like group meetings here and there, easily on the spot, you can actually see. But now the way that we actually can measure performance have to probably different. Okay, it's not about how long you work anymore, because you can't see them, and even if they are not working, even if you install any tools or whatsoever to track, right? And people will say that it invade privacy here and there. So it's always not perfect. Yeah. So giving autonomy, trust, but at the same time, you have to track, I think. Very important. You have to monitor and track and then trust your sixth sense. But a lot of times, of course, some people may feel that boss implement some procedure because there's one black pot that created this kind of situation. So it's always not perfect lah. But one thing for sure is not doing too many things or not taking up too many things and ensuring the team able to take up too many things because now they do not need to travel or this. That maybe is not that fair, I feel. It's actually pretty unfair. It doesn't mean that they can't travel. That particular hours, right, should be put together as a working hour. Yeah, so that's what I would believe.
Yeah, I think productivity, to be very honest, right? I mean, team actually make up of a lot of different kind of personnel or even personality. I mean, there was this article that mentioned that people who are introvert generally prefer to actually work from home, and the productivity actually increase because that is where they can actually create their own space, their own time. They have the flexibility and all these things. But at the same time, I mean, as an employer, okay, as a business or entrepreneur, right? We have to get certain things done. And then in the past, we can be maybe like, hey, can you please let's have a meeting in 5 minute time. Okay. But maybe right now, right, you have to check with people like, hey, can we have a meeting in half an hour time? Is that okay with you? And all these things. So trust, I do agree that with both two speaker over here, that is very important. I think another thing I want to actually highlight or even bring across to the audience over here is be able to be being empathy about certain things. Why is it? It's because working from home, everybody has different condition. Okay. I mean, if you are living alone, good for you because nobody's going to disturb you. Okay. But if you have kids or if the kids is having certain running nose and the school doesn't allow you to actually put the kids in the school for certain security or even a hygiene purpose, right? Then you have to look after. But at the same time, you know that I have a very important meeting to actually go about doing. I think being able to actually empathize with other people is very important. Okay, I think another thing that out of the overall that we talk about in today, right? Okay, knowing your tools, okay, is the very very start of being productive. Okay, knowing how to use it, okay, is also very important. Next is how are you going to implement the tools within your company and actually educate your people to do it. Okay. Last but not least, I think the last one is keep a lookout for the new tools that you think can actually enhance the productivity of people. Trying out the tools, okay? Because new tools doesn't mean is a good tools, you see. You have to try it out, okay, to see is it easy for my people to learn? Is it easy to actually integrate with my SOP that's currently in the company and all these things? So I think today information, right? I mean, there's the overall that we actually talk about in terms of the broad main points, okay? But I have last question for the two speaker over here, okay? Maybe I will go with Ku first, right? Could you just name, right, one tool that you believe that will actually boost everybody productivity in 2022?
Okay, if it's a Singapore, I find that
Yeah.
perhaps it will be maybe digital signing tool, if I can just name one. Yeah, so digital signing tool is I'll say a very important tool.
If not, you have to print out, sign, and then
Correct.
scan it over.
It's something
That
that
is,
I think everyone have to accept. Internally okay, but actually some people, some authorities or even some agency will still have difficulty. I think this one will need some change in that level.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd like to top up one point. So it
Sure.
depends on whether, the documents are caught admissible or not. So there are some exceptions, and then there are some, preference. Sometimes, when you're dealing with big ticket items, you want to see the person. And sometimes, you cannot replace a site visit. So a site visit to the place, really can uncover more opportunities. So it's not just like a signature, but I would say that why 2022, this will be like the hit, the main hit will be because you are providing your customers an option. So if they can meet you, you can meet them. If they cannot meet you, you still can sign them.
Right.
Yeah.
I think okay. I mean, I just want to actually highlight also, right? I mean, in the past, right, when we do international business, right, we thought that we have to fly in to meet the client, to actually talk maybe about the proposal, sometimes about the culture, sometimes they actually bring you around. Basically, it's about building relationship. But because of all the lockdown, okay, I think it actually forces everybody to actually rethink about, can I sign this deal without having the key personnel to fly in to actually talk to me, So I think this is also one thing, but at the same time, once we have shifted that mindset, right? A lot of people still like, hey, can I sign the hard copy? Can I get the company chop, on the paper itself? So I do agree with Ku on this thing about digital, and I mean, I have a lot of different requirements from different vendor that, hey, I want the hard copy. Then sometimes I will ask, right, is it okay to digital? Say, oh, I cannot accept digital. So I do agree with Ku. Okay, what about Justin? Can I ask you, right? Can you just name, right, one skill set that you think, right, everybody can actually try to actually have it, okay, and consider building it to increase their productivity in 2022?
Okay. I think one of the things that is very important, okay, as an entrepreneur, okay, is saying no, okay. Not only as an entrepreneur, even if you're an employee, okay, working for someone else, also, saying no, but in a nicer way. Yeah. So because it's not about taking a lot of things up. And if you think about it, right, you are purely just taking a lot of things out, then ended up, right, the whole performance actually dropped. The quality that you actually produce dropped, right? It actually is not the best ideal situation. So having a skill to say no in a good way and assessing whether this is the time to say no is very important. Then because we actually heard something like last time we used to have a client, he himself is actually a second-time entrepreneur, So when he actually started a new startup, right, he actually decided to go for the longer way. Because why? Because he want to experience it. This is probably the last startup that he can build. He want to experience everything. He don't want to go for the easiest way. But if you think about it, for that startup itself, right, you're not the only team member in the startup. You actually have few other partners. And because of this, your own personal interest, you want to do the longer way. Ended up the whole company actually need to spend more resources for you to try out. Being an entrepreneur, building a startup is not a playground for yourself. I think so. I think this one is very important. As a partner, at this kind of situation, you should learn how to say no. In a nicer way, as much as you like, to actually keep this kind of relationship, you should learn how to say no, because if not, ended up, you probably will spend the years, playing with someone playground, knowing that, it's taking a longer time, putting more resources, then, going nowhere. Yeah, you have an easier path, you have someone who actually offer to partner with you, might as well just partner it, and, that is probably the easiest shortcut given to you. Yeah, so there are this kind of situation. So that's why I say most of the time it's a people problem. And then if you learn how to deal with people yourself, you'll make your life very easy during this situation, this period. Yeah.
Right. Justin, maybe for that client, maybe you can advise that client, right, to actually start up a new startup himself, and he can take the long route. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do agree with Justin about saying no, but Justin also highlighted a very important point: how to say no in a politely way. So this is one thing, because I think when we are work from home and we don't meet up with each other, body language actually get lost along the way. And I mean, if you are actually rejecting the request via maybe like Zoom or via MS Team or via Telegram, it might be seen as a little bit cold. So that will actually build certain chemistry, or even you actually get yourself, or people will get distant away eventually. So I think saying no politely is very important. And I think most importantly is what actually Justin also highlighted, is the whole company need to be aligned in terms of what they want to do. So that is the example that about the entrepreneur, that the one of the entrepreneur wanted to actually take the long route. I think being able to actually sync up with everybody from various level, from maybe from the managing, the few co-founders level, from the co-founders or even entrepreneur to the, head of department, and even head of department to the executive level, right? Once it's being synced up, right, I think they will know why you are saying no to them. Okay. And saying no, right, you also need to let them know why are you saying no. Okay. Not in a politely way, but also let them know why are you doing it that way, that maybe in a longer run, right, people will get to know, oh, this is how your thought process is. That is your concern. Okay. So I know how to actually move forward towards. Okay, so I think for today's session, thank you, Justine and Koo, for sharing a lot of their secrets as well as some insight about certain tools to look out for. So maybe we will get Xprenia to actually write up and we drop you an email on certain links for the tools. Also, check out on Zoho on some of their software, the 3C that we talk about. Okay, communication is the first. Second, collaboration is the body, and we can look at how to actually do the creation of item. Okay, so maybe right now we will actually look at some. You can drop. We are having Q&A session right now, so you can actually drop your question in the chat box in the Zoom. Okay, I think there is some question. Let me just scroll. Okay, we have the first question. Okay, what are your strategy for getting more done? They're getting more work done, I believe. Okay, so this is the first question. And what are you going to do to avoid and focus on your limited attention? I think maybe your attention span is very limited. How are you going to get yourself focused on that, or even to avoid, having very limited attention? Want to beat this?
I can share some thoughts about, getting distracted. I think it's okay to get distracted, during the whole, working from home, working the long hours, sitting there in front of the computer, stuff like that. Getting distracted for a while is actually okay. I know last time, maybe, in the past in the office, scrolling some social media, checking things like that, it's actually frowned upon. I feel that if you ask me personally, I feel it's okay, because it's actually good to take like short break in between. That will actually sometimes will turn it into more productive. Okay, because that sometimes there are specific tasks, right? It actually needed some creative juice, So a lot of people, I think, even for myself, at the very beginning, I will just keep thinking about that particular thing. I know that my block already. Yeah, this time around you can't really get out anything. So that is the time that probably get yourself distracted a bit, do something. But if you ask me, if you really couldn't focus, right, and how to get yourself not being distracted, right, would be making sure that your environment is actually good. Okay, so meaning like not too noisy, but some people can work well in noise. I can. Okay, I like to work at cafe, listen to the noise. But if you can't, making sure the environment is actually good enough, getting some drinks, some sweet drinks, okay, that actually helps to keep yourself awake. Yeah. So yeah, and also one thing very important, sometimes being distracted is also caused by people talking to you. Yeah, so that's where the important skill need to come in. You need to say, no, I have a lot of things to do. I need to finish this. Can I talk to you later? In a nice way, people won't blame you for this. So you don't need to always please people just to entertain someone, and you can't really focus on that. Yeah.
Right. Nice one, Justin. Yeah. So maybe I'd like to share a little bit about how I do it. So I got a help from this, This is a good device sometimes, When I wear it, I don't know what's going on outside my room. So I can focus on my work. The next one would be, when my teammates know that I'm very busy, I'll actually set some reminder on my, I have in Zoho, we run on Zoho. So we have a Zoho click. So we have a busy status, available to collaborate, and we have a do not disturb kind of mode. So we can switch between different modes so that, our teammates know that, okay, Koo is ready to, for a chat, instant chat. He's ready for a meeting. And then they will know that, Koo probably is doing like what I'm doing today. I'm having a webinar. So and people will know that, okay, Koo is occupied this period for a webinar.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. I think one thing to actually highlight is right. I mean, whether you are manager, entrepreneur, or even yourself, right, you have to be very clear, right? What is your energy level? That means which part of the day, right, you are most alert, and which part of the day you are less alert, least alert. Okay. So usually, what I mean, Justine and also myself, what we usually do is right. I'm totally opposite with Justine. Okay, I'm a morning person, but Justine is usually a night person or afternoon person. So I always tell my teammates, right, to actually tackle the task, the most difficult task first. Because just get it done and move on. Okay. And I think about limited attention, right? You have to actually think about it, right? When we talk about limited attention, what are we referring to? Okay, are you able to actually just focus for 15 minutes? If it's just focus for 15 minutes, maybe over time you train yourself, right, to expand this from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, okay, to 45 minutes. I think because we also have teammates that actually was doing this 45, 15. That means continuous work for 45 minutes to accomplish one task, okay? And if the task is not complete, right, he or she will just move on and then rest for around 10 to 15 minutes, toilet break, or if to drink a cup of coffee, that will actually help. Okay, so let's move on to the second question. Okay, how do you define productive? Okay, get things done or having things to prove result at the end of the day. Okay, which one will you choose, guy? Get things done or to prove result?
Sometimes I find that it's a mixture because some things need to be done in a certain way if you're in a bigger company, and when A gets done with B, gets done with C, that gets done with D, you get a good interactive results. So sometimes before a strategy or before certain plans unveil themselves, they come in different parts and components. It's like before you bake a cake, you're going to tell one person, hey, break the eggs, stir the flour, and then melt the butter. For the person who do not understand your whole strategy, the person will find it very boring. I'm mixing the butter. What is this for? So that's when
Yeah.
I always find that collaboration and knowledge management is important, so that everyone in the team will know that every small part I contribute, is leading to a project with big results.
Yeah. So it's a WIP plus result, both equally important, Tammy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the next question. Oh, Justin, do you want to actually chip in for this question?
Yeah, not much, but if you ask me, right, I prefer quality work, at least because if you think about it, if I am given half-assed work just to be proven that the person actually did some work, right, and then I need to do the cleaning, so you actually spend more time, so it's not effective. So in my perspective, I would prefer quality work, good enough. Yeah.
That means not getting work done. Get quality work done. Okay. Okay. The next question, right, is what motivates you to be more productive? I think more time to spend on doing something that you like.
Have a goal in mind, sleep, able to sleep early, or maybe you actually needed to go out. That's the goal. So you will feel more motivated,
Okay. Cool. What about you? You are laughing. Yeah.
I'm laughing is because from how I perceive entrepreneurs, it is always more pleasurable to drive your Ferrari at 35 rather than driving your Ferrari at 65. So I think you guys are the business consultants. You will know that time is really something that you cannot turn back time. Your time loss is lost. So everybody want to aspire to be Forbes 30 under 30, 30 under 30, Forbes 40 under 40. Why do they have this type of age category? I think it's because of time. And the reason why people go for consulting, why people want to sign up with Nonxprenia, why people want to get the one-to-one with experts, because why? They want to save time and 不要走歪路嘛. Just they don't want, everybody don't want to go the hard road, and they want some scalable success and some proven success with the shortest time available.
Yep. So being productive sometimes also actually spending money to buy lesson that other people actually walk through, so that you can actually, as what Ku say, minimize the mistake that you made. And to be very honest, time you cannot unwind. So if you made a mistake and you took years to actually recognize that mistake, that means that is the time lost for you. Right? Very well said, cool. Okay, so next question. How do you deal with distraction at work? Justin will say that need to know how to say no. Okay, besides how to say no, besides saying no, Justin, do you have any advice on this?
Yeah, put on your face. That one will be definitely most helpful. Yeah, even if you are not listening to anything, you don't want to listen, right? People will see you as like working on something, right? So not free for that.
Yeah.
Dealing with distraction. Okay. So have a to-do list, a quick to-do list. That one will be very helpful. Because that's where you know that you actually needed to finish this before you actually leave the office. That would be good. To actually avoid dealing with distraction. I think other than that, I think most of the tips I actually shared earlier would be things that I commonly use.
Yeah.
Maybe, for example, Shelby, when Shelby talk to me, I say, Shelby, no time.
No, usually I don't talk to Justin.
Sure, right.
Yeah, I think another thing that Koo highlighted, right? When you work remotely, I really do not know whether you're wearing ESP or not. Maybe you want to check the status, okay, whether are they like in a meeting or are they like do not disturb kind of status, then maybe that is where you can talk about it. Or I think another way, right, is you really know how to use your tool very well, or even your hardware. Certain like your handphone or even your laptop, there is certain things like do not disturb, so that the notification will not keep on popping up, or even the noise will not keep on popping out, then you get distracted, right? Okay, we have one question from Jia Jun. I think this is directed to Koo. Okay, hi, I find that the personal knowledge management, PKM, to be very interesting. Do you feel like it's important for entrepreneur to have a good PKM so that they can lead the team better?
So maybe thank you, Shelby. So maybe let me share with you one perspective. Because as an entrepreneur, you will want to probably, if you're not working alone, if you're trying to find co-founders, or if you are recruiting, or if you're interviewing people, imagine you get to interview 20 people, and every one of these 20 people come with some prospect strategy of how do they want to help you grow your business. And if you can properly document down these insights from these 20 interviewers, or maybe from another 10 co-founders, you would have got yourself a very good case study from 30 people. And imagine that one small thing that you can do right from the start. You can easily build up a lot of info, so that the rest of your team will know that, oh, something that can be avoided. You don't need to, yeah, we always have a very crude term, like, if it smells like shit, it tastes like shit, probably it is shit. So when you have a proper knowledge management, you will know how to overcome some of these trap holes, and you can avoid them, and most of the time it saves you time. So proper knowledge not only comes, on just insights. It can also come with, with every project that you have tried. You'll be able to put in perhaps a assumption log. You can put in some change requests. You can put in some, expert advice and phase gates. And those are maybe those are some advanced project management key points, which perhaps in another webinar with project management I can cover, maybe not this one.
Yeah, it's very important, especially like in consultancy line, when we deal with a lot of different clients, right? Every time we take up a new project, right, that's supposed to give us like, knowledge increase also, because we don't deal with people, clients who are completely the same as the previous one. It always not the case, because as a consultant, you're supposed to actually able to give customized solutions, customized advice, right? Yeah, so very important to have a very a good procedure to keep things like the research. Okay, where can you find this information? Where can you find that information? It's also easier for you to actually pass down these skills and also allow your team member to tap onto that database. I think, yeah, it actually helps in leading the team better.
Okay, so I think we have it's around 8:56. Maybe we have one last question. Okay, that is for Tammy, right? How to stop being busy and produce result fast where you have very limited resources or manpower. I think we can ask Justin from an entrepreneur point of view, and maybe we can ask Ku, from a manager point of view. Okay, how can you do that? Okay.
How can you
Justin?
how can you stop being busy and produce results fast?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so quite hard as an entrepreneur. It's quite hard to stop busy. I think most of the time you are busy, and then and may not produce result fast actually. Yeah, if I read the whole sentence right, sometimes most of the time you are busy and you may not produce result always fast enough. Yeah, just take note of that. But okay, when you have limited resources, I think it's more of like, one thing, of course, like keeping things like in track, more organized, right? Able to find things easily. That will actually help you to actually deal with a job or project faster lah. As an entrepreneur also, because you should learn from your mistake or learn from what you actually done previously, and then don't keep making the same mistake because you forgot about it, things like that. So I would say as an entrepreneur, very hard not to be busy. Yeah, and you may not produce result fast. It's always the case. Okay, unless you are a very mature company and things are autopilot. Yeah.
Right.
Thank
Cool.
you,
What
Jess.
about
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
So actually being a manager is no much different from being a entrepreneur, because we are working against other managers as well. So it's not a rows of bits for us. People will be comparing, hey, why is this Lim faster and better than Gu? And so for us, as managers, we work with our team to produce guided results. So all of us are busy, and and sometimes as a manager, you cannot be that busy. You need to allocate time to invest resources to track projects, and to talk to people, to understand people better, because in a team, if you are the best person to output all your work, right, then it's not a team. It's like a solo player game kind of thing. So as a manager, in a company like Zoho with that 10K worth of employees, in the more than 16 locations, we always aspire to take in our culture, grow the team, and then we will have scalable growth. So we actually invest a lot of on this education on our own staff, because if the staff cannot understand Zoho well, how are we able to educate and preach Zoho's way to everyone? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Justine. Also cool for today. Very insightful outputs or inputs actually about skill set, certain tools or even that. So check out the tools and what we actually mentioned, as well as check out Zoho on the 3 C's that they actually provide, and see whether your business, or even you can actually recommend to a manager, okay, some of the services that you think that actually can increase your productivity in the year 2022.
Yeah, if you would like to connect with Shelby, Jocelyn, or Ku, feel free to scan the QR codes here and do personally message them if you have any questions or anything you want to ask about productivity or anything else. Yeah, with that, we also have a Telegram community. So this Telegram community is filled with a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, as well as blockchain, NFT, and crypto enthusiasts. So if you would like to find out more and connect with these people, feel free to scan the QR code here as well to join in with the community. Yeah, with that, I think we've come to the end of our sharing today. Thank you so much, Ku, Jaslyn, and Shelby. Yeah, and we'll see you next week for our next event. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us too, everyone.